Jim Morrison, one of the biggest superstars in American history, was a fake. But make no mistake, Jim Morrison is probably still alive. I'm not one of these people who says all these deaths are faked. They're always a fake death. It's always a ritual fake death. No, they actually kill people. They actually kill people. But some of the deaths are faked. And this is one of them. Now, David McGowan, the author of this book, he goes into more detail about how Jim Morrison's death was faked. You should definitely read this book. This is a free book. You can find it online. If you can't find it, email me. I'll send you a copy. Everybody in America should read this book because all our culture was created in the same way that this rock scene was created. It's not just the rock scene, it's all the scenes. It's all manufactured. It's all fugazi. All the stars, all the TV stars, all the movie stars, all the rock and roll stars, all the rap stars, everybody. They're all there. They've all been placed there to control you and to lead you astray. And if you think about it, you know that. You know it's being promoted by this music, by this culture. I've seen what it did to me, what it did to other people. But people don't want to admit it. And people don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm throwing away all my David Crosby records. They don't want to feel like, oh, I got to throw away all my David Crosby records. Oh. You think I don't still listen to music? Let's call it, I still listen to this evil music because that's all there is. If you take away everything that these people created, there's nothing left in our culture. But the point is to just come to reality. It's not like you have to suddenly completely change your life and never listen to music again. It's about accepting the reality behind the music. And it's really ugly. It's much, much uglier than Jim Morrison. It didn't really play instrument. I mean, there's so much murder and death and just and brutality in this book. It's crazy. But it doesn't even come close, I guess, to the brutality that Jim Morrison's father unleashed. I mean, the stuff that went on in Vietnam was just absolutely beyond the pale. You don't even want to think about that stuff happening in your hometown or happening at all. Because a lot of people just can't accept a lot of the things that happen. And the way they deal with it is by blaming. That's how people deal with things in our culture. They blame. There's someone to place the blame on. But the reality is we've all been completely brainwashed from birth by the Jim Morrisons and the Jimi Hendrix and all of them. And you look at the people who are now being pushed as celebrities. If this book seems implausible to you 20 years ago, does it still seem that way now? That all these artists are really industry plants? Most of all of them are? And I would speculate that there's two types of industry plant. One is the type of industry plant that is like Jim Morrison. They're like a secret agent, basically. You go in and you portray this role and you lead the youth astray, like Tupac. And then you fake your death, and then you go do whatever else. That's one type of. But then there's other people that are just mind control victims, or they're people that are so fucked up that they're absolutely guaranteed to flame out and just end up dead, and no one's going to question it. These people are so insane that no one's going to question it when they end up dead, right? And then you can take their royalties, you can take their publishing and all that shit. That's what they do. Anyways, the point is that it's not a harmless thing. It's not just, oh, Jim Morrison was an industry plant. He didn't play the instruments. He had fake songs and all this because he was a rich kid. It's way, way deeper than that. This is about leading people on paths of destruction. This is about telling people, oh, I just dropped a bunch of acid and I wrote the best songs ever, man. Knowing it's just a straight up lie. He probably never even tried acid. Much like, the Frank Zappas and all these other people who encouraged all the teenage girls to do acid, but they didn't do it themselves. They didn't want to be all twacked out. They want to feel in control. I mean, they say the rap game is so deadly, but it's not just the rap game. The music industry has always been deadly, and that's so clearly illustrated in this book. These are rich white enclaves, and yet there's all this murder and these just bizarre dismembering and suicides and fake suicides, people getting shot and murdered, and it gets ruled as suicides. There's all this corruption with the cops and the establishment that are just covering for all these murders that are all happening in this hotbed of cultural revolution, supposedly, which just all run by the military. I was listening to an interview with him, and somebody was asking him, this whole culture is fabricated. We're living in this fabricated reality, but what should we do about it? What do you think we should do about it? So that's the question that she posed to the author of the book I was just reading from. And McGowan says, I don't know. I just did this to raise awareness. Now, I don't know if you know this, but you probably don't know this, but McGowan died not too long after the publication of this book. And I'm already hearing people saying he was murdered. And then I'm hearing other people saying he was COINTELPRO. But regardless to the fact, he could not answer the question, what should we do about it? You give people these conspiracies, you give them all these terrible conspiracies being waged against them, and then people say, what do we do about it? Buy crypto, right? They sell you something. When people really just want to know the truth. But they can't tell you the truth. Because either they don't know it, or they're just there to sell you a conspiracy. Or they're so deep in the brainwashing, as we all are, that we can't see the truth. That the only way back to a decent world is through nature. We have to give all this shit up. We don't need all this stuff. It's destroying our planet. It's destroying us. It's enslaving us. Is it worth it? We call it progress because we have all this junk, all this electronic stuff, but we're not happy. Our planet is dying. Our children are getting cancer. So that's the answer that McGowan and the other conspiracy theorists can't give you. Because they still believe in the Star Trek. And they won't speak against it, especially not if they're COINTELPRO. But a lot of people won't speak against it just because they'll never figure it out. That's the whole point of this brainwashing, this culture-wide brainwashing. That's the point of it, is that you can't see what the outside looks like. And so, who is or who isn't COINTELPRO? Who the hell know? You have to only trust yourself. Me personally, from the bit I've heard from McGowan, I don't think he is. Was he murdered? I don't know that. You would have to ask the people closest to him. But I'm hearing the rumors. Either way, rest in peace to David McGowan. This is one of the greatest books ever written, whether or not, right? I mean, William Cooper wrote one of the greatest books ever. The most influential conspiracy tomes, Behold a Pale Horse, which was extremely influential to me. Not for all the information in that book, which I thought a lot of it was BS, but for that part right at the beginning, silent weapons for quiet wars. And we know William Cooper was a shill. We know he was COINTELPRO. So I don't rule it out, but at the same time, I'm not going to kick dirt on this man. I'm just telling you, I'm passing along that there's all this chatter on both sides, and who the fuck knows? Regardless, this book is one that you need to read. And I'm actually going to be revisiting this book probably a few more times because I'm rereading it and it's fascinating as hell. So yeah, that's it for now. Jim Morrison was a complete fraud. He was an industry plant. He was there to deceive you, to lead you astray, to lead you into addiction, alcoholism, drug abuse, insanity, and to lead you away from a real youth movement